Right, welcome to chemistry classes. I'm your SK sir. I'm your new faculty of chemistry. Right, today onwards, I'm going to teach you regarding board examinations and your competitive examinations in online. Right, so first of all, I'm going to take physical chemistry of your second year. Physical chemistry is just like physical exercise. If you are doing proper physical exercise daily, you'll get good muscles and good health, right? Like that, if you are good in physical chemistry, you'll get good rank and good marks in your board examinations, right? Without wasting any time, just moving into the topic which is right on the board, solid state. Yes, of course, in this universe, matter is existed in many more forms, many more states: solid state, liquid state, gaseous state, semi-solid state, liquid crystal state. There are many more states are there, but only three states are very familiar to us. We can observe daily around us. They are what? Gaseous state, liquid state, and solid state. I am going to differentiate these three states in a simple way. That is what? Gases have no definite shape and definite volume. Gases have no definite shape and definite volume, right? And one more thing, in gases, the intermolecular or interatomic distances are more. Interatomic or interatomic distances are large, okay? And intermolecular forces are negligible, okay? Intermolecular forces are negligible. Distance is increased means attractions. Intermolecular forces are somewhat reduced, almost negligible in gaseous state. Whereas in liquid state, students, the interatomic distances are somewhat less when compared with gaseous state, and intermolecular forces or interatomic attractions are greater than gas state. Otherwise, you take gaseous state, no problem. Right? This is in the case of liquids, this is in the case of gases. Getting my point? Yes. Whereas, in the case of solids, what happens? In the case of solid state, what happens? Interatomic or interionic or intermolecular distances are very short, students, very short. Almost they are contact with each other in solid state, atoms or molecules or ions. You getting my point? Right. And intermolecular forces are very strong. That is what? Intermolecular distances or interatomic distances are very short. Hence, intermolecular forces are very strong. You getting my point? You getting the distinctions between solid state, liquid state, and gaseous state, right? Very simple, Nana. Just these are the differences, right? Take a screenshot, otherwise take the notes. Notes is mandatory and notes is very helpful for your revision. Quick revision, notes only helpful. Okay, right? Yes, try to take the notes. Then I am going to give you the classification of solids, on the basis of different properties. Classification of solids on the basis of different properties, students. See, crystalline solids and what? Amorphous solids. Crystalline solids and what? Amorphous solids. Crystalline solids and amorphous solids. In crystalline solids, arrangement of atoms or molecules or ions in a very disciplined manner. Otherwise, the arrangements are highly ordered like this. You getting my point? Whereas in amorphous solid, students, just like this, all the solids, all the particles or all the atoms are very close, no doubt. But the arrangement is somewhat zigzag in nature. Right? This is the main difference. Here, in very disciplined manner they are arranged. But here, this is just the college or school at prayer time. Morning prayers are there, right? In prayer time, all the students are stand in a very disciplined manner. In column wise, in row wise, they are going to be stand. But this is the time of school at 5 o'clock evening is nothing but playground situation. This is right, students. Amorphous means just zigzag arrangement is there. In crystalline state, disciplined arrangement. Otherwise, highly ordered solids are called crystalline solids. Highly ordered solids are called what? Crystalline solids in perspective of arrangements. Okay. Then one more thing you have to observe. So you take physical properties like density or refractive index. Density, right? Density or refractive index, or else color, anything. You take the physical properties. The best example, you take density, right? In this direction, density is varied. In this direction, density is varied. In this direction, density is varied. Otherwise, refractive index also. Yes, in crystalline solids, we can observe different. We can observe what? Different physical properties. Different physical properties in different directions. Clear, students? So in crystalline solids we can observe different physical properties in different directions, whereas in amorphous solids, in amorphous solids, what happens? Same physical properties in all directions. Yes, this is another main distinction between crystalline solids and amorphous solid, students. So crystalline solids are going to exhibit different physical properties in different directions, whereas amorphous solids are going to exhibit same physical properties in all directions. This phenomenon is called isotropy. This phenomenon is called as isotropy, and this phenomenon is called as anisotropy. You're getting easy only. What is anisotropy, students? What is anisotropy? Different physical properties in different directions is anisotropy. Same physical properties in all directions is called isotropy. That means amorphous solids are isotropic in nature. Crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature. Crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature. Take a screenshot. I'll give you 30 seconds. Yes. Right. Yes, one more difference, important difference. Crystalline solids are having sharp melting points, PTS, sharp melting points. Amorphous solids are with a over range of melting points. Range of melting points. Range of melting points, students. In the sense, just you observe this as a, just you assume this as an amorphous solid. On melting, this particular portion will melt at a particular temperature. This portion will melt at another temperature. This portion will melt at another temperature. Overall, this amorphous substance is going to melt at x degrees to y degrees Celsius temperature. We cannot give a proper melting point to this amorphous solid. Yes, 10 degrees to 20 degrees Celsius, complete melting takes place. Like that you have to tell. Over a range of melting points there in case of amorphous solids, whereas in case of crystalline solid, sharp melting points are there. Sharp melting points in the sense the complete crystal melts at a certain temperature. This complete crystal melts at a certain temperature. That's it. That is nothing but what sharp melting points, and this one is nothing but over a range of melting points. Clear? This is another important difference between crystalline solids and what? Amorphous solids. Right? Okay, this is about what? Crystalline solids and amorphous solids. So amorphous solids are not true solids, but crystalline solids are true solids. In one sentence I am going to I'm going to clear. Yes, that is what crystalline solids are true solids, whereas amorphous solids are not true solids. Okay, this is basis on some properties. Why some solids are called as crystalline solids, why some solids are called as what? Amorphous solids, like that. These are the reasons, right? Then don't bother about amorphous solids. They are not having any sharp characteristics, right? We have to consider only crystalline solids from now, right? So crystalline solids are again categorized into ionic solids, covalent solids, metallic solids, and what? Molecular solids. Molecular solids, students. These classifications of crystalline solids on the basis of intermolecular forces. These classifications are made on the basis of intermolecular forces, right? Between the entities, between the particles, ionic interactions are there, means they are nothing but ionic crystalline solids. Ionic interactions are there, means they are nothing but what? Ionic crystalline solid, students. Suppose you take NaCl, you know there is electrostatic attraction between Na plus and Cl minus. You take KCl, there is electrostatic attraction between K plus and Cl minus. Yes, these interactions are called as what? Ionic interactions. Hence these are comes under what? Ionic solids. Not only these two, Na2SO4 you take, or KNO3 you take. These are all what? Ionic solids. Getting my point? Interaction is ionic interaction. That solid is considered as what? Ionic solid, right? Yes. Yes, this is about what? Ionic solid. Covalent solid, student. Covalent or metallic and molecular solids. One by one I am going to explain you. Before that, I am going to tell some points, key points about ionic solids. So ionic solids are having high ionic solids or ionic crystals. Ionic solids are with high melting points and high boiling points, and ionic solids are bad conductors of electricity in their solid state, because in the solid state ions are in fixed positions. In solid state ions are fixed positions, but that is what? Stationary ions are not responsible for the conduction of electricity. Just keep in your mind, stationary ions, that means ions are not in free. They are not responsible for any electrical conductivity, students. Only free ions are responsible for electrical conductivity. In case of ionic solid, students, in case of ionic solids, no free ions are there. All the ions are fixed to their positions. Hence, they are considered as the bad conductors. But ionic solids are good conductors in their molten state or in their solutions. In their aqueous solutions, students. In their aqueous solutions. Yes, when NaCl is melted, ions are somewhat free. Free ions are generated. Whereas otherwise, if NaCl is dissolved in water, aqueous solution of NaCl is formed. In aqueous solution also, ions are very much free. Getting my point? So, free ions only the responsible ones for electrical conductivity. Free ions are the responsible for electrical conductivity. In solid state of ionic compounds, all the ions are fixed to their positions. No free ions are there. Hence, ionic solids are bad conductors of electricity, whereas in their molten state or in their aqueous solutions, they are good conductors. They behave as good conductors because in molten state, otherwise in their aqueous state, ions are very much free, students. Hence, we can observe electrical conductivity in molten state and in aqueous solutions of the ionic solids. I think you are getting this, right? Very important point regarding ionic solids, students. Clear? Right. Then covalent solids. Yes, between the entities, otherwise between the particles, between the atoms, between the molecules, covalent interactions are there. Hence, they are what? Covalent solids. Examples are diamond, graphite, boron nitride, Bn, carborundum. Okay, na? Carborundum. RUNDUM. Carborundum formula is silicon carbide SiC. Then quartz QUARTZ. Formula is SiO2. Yes. These are all comes under what? Covalent solid, because in diamond between carbon and carbon there is a covalent bond. In graphite also between carbon and carbon covalent interactions are there. Like this, like that, in every solid only covalent interactions are going to be observed. Hence, these solids comes under what? Covalent solids. Whereas the electrical conductance is 0 in case of covalent solids. Electrical conductance is 0 in case of covalent solids. This is the exception. Only the graphite, which is a very good conductor of electricity, even though it is a covalent solid. Graphite is a very good conductor of electricity, even it is a covalent solid. Clear? Why it is in the sense, in graphite crystalline structure there are free electrons are available. Yes, graphite is in layered structure, right? This is very well known for you, right? Like this. This is one layer. This is another layer. This one is another layer, like this. Between these layers there will be some weak interactions. They are nothing but pi bonds, like dangling bonds. Yes, when you are applying small stress, these bonds are going to be broken, free electrons are going to be generated. These free electrons are going to conduct the electricity. Here in the case of graphite, free electrons are the reason for electrical conductivity. Okay, this is about what? Covalent solids, Nana. Just you have to keep in your mind, covalent solids are with almost zero conductivity except graphite, and their melting points and boiling points are somewhat less than ionic solids. Diamond is the hardest substance because it is a covalent network of covalent bonds. After diamond, carborundum is the strongest stone, strongest state, strongest compound, strongest molecule after diamond. Okay, this is about what? Covalent solids. Then I am going to discuss about now molecular solids. In case of ionic solids, ions are together. In case of covalent solids, atoms are together. Whereas in case of molecular solids, molecules are going to be interacted with one to other. Molecules are going to be interact with one another. Molecule in the sense it is already stable. Between molecules, almost van der Waals forces are going to be acting. Somewhat weak interactions are there in molecular solids. Molecules are aggregated means that solid is called as what? Molecular solid. Just keep in your mind. Here the interactions are very less. They are nothing but van der Waals forces. Van der Waals interactions are there between molecules. In some molecule like H2O, ice, you know ice, right? In ice, all the water molecules are aggregated through hydrogen bondings. Okay, na? Hydrogen bonding, student. Right? So, when all the molecules are aggregated, those solids are called as what? Molecular solids. Those solids are called as what? Molecular solids. Then I am going to discuss about examples of molecular solids. Dry ice, nothing but solid CO2 is called dry ice. Solid CO2. Normal ice, Formula is H2O, right? H2O. Sulfur is a molecular solid. Sulfur, S8. Sulfur is a molecular solid. Glucose is a molecular solid, student. Glucose. Glucose is a molecular solid, C6H12O6. Here in glucose, of course, అది అది క్రిస్టలైన అమార్ఫస్ పక్కన పెడితే గ్లూకోజ్ ఇస్ ఏ molecular solid. Okay, keep that in your mind. This is about what? Molecular solids. Okay, then metallic solids. Metallic solids. You know, copper metal and what? Iron metal, then sodium metal. Okay, copper metal, sodium metal, iron metal, silver metal, gold metal. Yes, these solids are called metallic solids. Here the interaction is metallic bond. Here the interaction is metallic bond. Metallic bond is not at all ionic bond. It is not at all covalent bond. It is not at all coordinate covalent bond. It is not at all hydrogen bonding. Metallic bonding is explained by various theories, but the simple theory is electron C model. Just I am going to explain in a brief manner. That is what, suppose iron crystal is there, means just you assume 6 iron atoms are present inside the iron crystal. Just assume like that. Yes, each iron crystal is going to lose 2 electrons. It becomes Fe+2. Each one is going to lose 2 electrons. Becomes Fe+2. Yes, this is also going to lose the 2 electrons. It becomes Fe+2. It is going to lose the 2 electrons. This is becomes Fe+2. Like that. This also losing 2 electrons, becoming what? Fe+2, 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 Fe+2. Then finally this 6th one is also doing the same thing. This is also becomes what? Fe+2, right? Totally 12 electrons are, totally 12 electron cloud is going to be formed inside the crystal. This is what? 12 electrons cloud. Negative cloud is created inside the crystal, and all the Fe+2 ions are aggregated very near to each other within the electron C. Otherwise, within the electron gathering, all these Fe+2 are fixed into their positions. That means here there is no direct interaction between Fe atom and Fe atom. Here interactions are Fe+2, electrons, then Fe+2, like that. These are the interactions. This type of special interaction is called as what? Metallic interaction. Here the neutrality of the crystal is not disturbed. Yes, 12 negative charges are there, 12 positive charges are there. So neutrality of the crystal is not disturbed. It is a neutral crystal, but how they are aggregated? By contributing 2 electrons each. From each iron atom, an electron cloud is created inside the crystal. In that cloud, all the 6 Fe+2 ions are fixed in their particular positions. This special type of interaction is nothing but metallic bonding, students. Yes, these are very good conductors of electricity, because yes, free electrons are there in the metallic crystal. In metallic crystals, free electrons are the responsible for electrical conductivity, whereas in ionic compounds, free ions are the responsible for electrical conductivity. This is just introduction and basic concepts of solid state. This is very first class, right? That's why I am taking for half an hour only. Okay na? Yes, right. From today onwards, I'm going to send videos for you. Just go through them, and I'll send notes through your respective WhatsApp groups regarding the video, right? I think you're all doing well. Yes, keep doing, keep rocking. Yes, your exams are very needed. You have to prepare well, don't waste the time. Thank you very much.